10 of the most disappointing cars in Formula 1 history. Yes, Max Verstappen has won a race so far in 2025, but the RB21 is a far cry from its title-winning predecessors. It's already led to the culling of poor Liam Lawson, or arrogant Liam Lawson, depending on who you believe, and even Yuki has struggled for any sort of results in the thing. Obviously, the RB21 is not the worst car on the grid, since Max regularly has it near the top, but the rapid decline of Red Bull from total dominance to maybe the third best car made me wonder about some of the most disappointing cars in recent history. Please feel free to hit us up in the comments with all and any disappointing cars we failed to include in the list. As always, your opinions are very much appreciated. Disclaimer: the car doesn't have to be a defending champion to qualify for the list. Any car with a huge expectation or that just plain sucked butt powder in comparison to the previous year's model or the quality driver it had qualifies for this particular wall of shame. So let's have 10 of the most disappointing cars in recent Formula 1 history. Number 10. Mercedes MGP W01. When Germans do something, they tend to do it right, or rather do it big. I mean, when these guys wanted to make war, they figured the only opponent worthy of doing it against was the whole world, and they did it twice. So when Mercedes took over the remains of the championship-winning Brawn Formula 1 team, who had won the title with Mercedes engines, the Formula 1 world felt a tinge of fear, which was only exasperated by the driving lineup of son of world champion Nico Rosberg and suddenly unretired GOAT Michael Schumacher. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for the fear to disappear. Problem was, the car Mercedes inherited from the now defunct Brawn team was severely underdeveloped. Yes, it had won both titles the previous season, but that success was based on a brilliant first half of the season, and the team had spent very little in developing the car for the following season, rather putting all their eggs in one basket and working to keep Button's 09 Challenger as competitive as possible. Brawn won 6 races in the first half of the season and only 2 in the second, to win the title for Jenson Button by 11 points from Red Bull's Sebastian Vettel, and the Constructors' title with 172 to Red Bull's 155.3 points. In 2010, the now Mercedes team's drivers failed to win a single race, with Rosberg scoring 3 third places and finishing 7th in the title race, and Schumacher 9th, having not finished higher than 4th in any races. The team finished 4th in the Constructors as well with 214, while Red Bull won the title with 498 points. It would take years of development, hard work, a regulation change, and the signing of Lewis Hamilton to replace the again retiring Schumacher to finally restore the Silver Arrows to the top of the pile. Number 9. Williams FW26 2004. It had been 7 long years since the team led by the legendary Frank Williams had won the title, but the team was optimistic heading into 04 after a runner-up spot in the Constructors' battle the previous year. They held on to Ralf Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya as drivers and headed into the season with a revolutionary walrus-nosed FW26. The car, however, was nowhere near Ferrari's pace, as the walrus nose turned out to be a dud, and they switched back to a more conventional design from Hungary forward, scoring 41 points in the remaining 6 races after the switch, compared to the 47 they scored in the walrus. Montoya even won the final race of the season, which is the second to last race that Williams has won as of 2025, only Maldonado's famous win in 2012 being more recent. Number 8. Lola T9730. 1997. Most motorsport fans have heard the name Lola, and I'm not referring to the song where some unlucky fella seemingly chatted up a dude dressed as a lady. Lola had in the past produced winning chassis in sports cars and in the good old USA's fake F1 IndyCar. So when it was announced that a Lola team backed by MasterCard and Pennzoil Cash was joining the grid, it seemed like a decent idea. The idea was for Lola to enter F1 in '98, but for some reason MasterCard insisted on them joining the grid in 1997 or they would pull out of the deal. With backing rumored to be around $45 million, remember this was 1997, MasterCard's wish was Lola's command. Shockingly, at the start of the first race, Lola pitched up with a car that had no, yes, zero, zilch, no wind tunnel testing and had run only 8 laps in any testing. Madness. The car was also the first purely developed via computer-aided design. Favorite to win the title was the Williams Renault of Jacques Villeneuve, and he set a pole time of 1 minute 29.396 seconds. The Lolas? Riccardo Rossi and Vincenzo Sospiri recorded a 1 minute 40.9 and a 1 minute 42.08, yes, 11 and 12 seconds off the pace. Under the then 107% qualifying rule, they failed to start. Before the start of the second race, MasterCard decided to cut their financial and humiliation losses, and the team folded. 7th, Ferrari 642-643. In 1991, fans hoped for a title fight between Ferrari's Prost and Senna in the McLaren. Didn't quite happen though. In battling Senna for the 1990 title, which they narrowly lost, Ferrari may have made one fatal mistake. They had pushed back work on the 91 car to keep working on the 1990 Challenger, and Prost himself feared it had rested on its laurels in the belief that the competition would be starting 91 on the back foot. Prost was right, and he would be sacked before the end of the season for comparing the 1991 Ferrari to a truck. Enzo did not take kindly to those things. McLaren and Williams had excellent cars, and Senna defeated Mansell for the title, with Ferrari failing to win a single race. Prost ended the championship in 5th, Lacey 7th. Ferrari was 3rd in the Constructors, with less than half the points of either of the top 2. Number 6, the Honda RA107 2007. Honda had been responsible for some of the most legendary Formula 1 engines. Both the most successful cars in the sport's history had Honda power. Verstappen's 2023 car was powered by the Red Bull powertrain Honda RBPTH001 and had won 21 out of 22 races, while Senna's 1988 title winner was powered by Honda's RA168E 1.5-litre V6 turbo engine and had won 15 out of 16 races. Unfortunately, the Japanese marquee has been less glorious as a constructor. When Jenson Button outscored all other drivers in the last 6 races of 06 on his way to finishing 6th in the World Drivers' Championship, it looked like 07 may finally be Honda's year. Spoiler alert, it was not. As an article on therace.com put it, the RA107, and I quote, achieved the dreadful combination of being draggy on the straights, but having no downforce in the corners. End quote. Honda crashed from 4th to 8th in the Constructors and only beat Super Aguri, who used their last season's engines, by 6 points. Button scored all 6 points, and Barrichello failed to score. Number 5, the Beneton B196 from 1996. It's a pretty big blow to lose a driver that had won you 2 titles in a row. It's a bigger blow when that driver is called Michael Schumacher, and that he would in future take one of the greatest designers from the sport ever from you in Rory Byrne, and also poach Ross Brawn, but that would only come later. For 96, Schumacher would only take himself to Ferrari, and Jean Alesi and Gerhard Berger would leave Maranello for Benetton. With the maker of shoes and Johnny Herbert at the wheel, Benetton won 11 from 17 in 1995. They won 0 with Berger and Alesi driving in 96. Even the fact that they managed a rather impressive 10 podiums couldn't save the season when compared to the previous one. The season was a huge disappointment for a team dreaming of defending their titles. A perfect example being the German Grand Prix, where Berger was leading before blowing his engine 3 laps before the end of the race. Number 4, the 1998 Williams FW20. Williams dominated the 90s. They won the drivers' title in 92, 93, 96, and 97, and they were seen as the favourites in 94 and 95 as well. Only the utter brilliance and dark arts of Michael Schumacher costing them those 2 titles. Jacques Villeneuve took the 97 title after a failed attempt by Schumi to take him out at the final race of the season in Spain, and much was expected of the Canadian for 98, since the team had won 7 of 17 races in 97. Things fell apart rapidly though. Williams failed to sign a new engine supplier when Renault withdrew from the sport. Adrian Newey's frustration at being unable to become technical director in the team due to incumbent Patrick Head being part owner and one of the founders led to Newey joining McLaren, who would go on to win both titles in 98. Frank Williams was forced to use what was basically the previous year's old Renault engines rebadged as Mecha Chrome power units, and results tanked. Their newly red livery team failed to win a race, with Villeneuve finishing 3rd twice and Frentzen once for their best finish of the season. In the title race, Villeneuve ended 5th with Frentzen 7th, and the defending champions finished a lowly 3rd in the constructors' battle. 3rd, McLaren Honda MP4-30. For the 2015 season, McLaren left Mercedes power to return to Honda, reuniting the partnership that won all those titles for Prost and Senna in the 80s and early 90s. The expectations were sky high and came crashing very low very quickly. The team had finished 5th in the constructors in 2014 with 181 points. In 2015, they were 9th with 27 points. To put things in perspective, the car was driven by 2 world champions in Alonso and Button and still could not manage a race finish higher than 5th. McLaren decided to throw Honda under the bus by claiming the MP4-30 was a good chassis held back by a bad engine. Now, if watching hundreds of 1980s ninja movies taught me one thing, it's you do not pee off a Japanese dude. Never mind a whole Japanese multinational company. Honda and McLaren kept their strenuous relationship going for 2 more years before McLaren went back to Mercedes via Renault. And Honda? Well, Honda has wreaked its revenge on McLaren by helping Max Verstappen win races, titles, and breaking old McLaren records for a few years now. Number 2, Ferrari's 312 T5. When Ferrari won the 1979 titles, both of them with its drivers 1st and 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, the future looked rosy for the team in red. Spoiler alert, it wasn't, and it would take until 2000 and Michael Schumacher for them to win the title again. In 1980, the best position a Ferrari could finish was 5th, and defending champion Jody Scheckter retired from Formula 1, having scored all of 2 points, wearing the number 1. The 312 T5 was merely a development of the previous season's car, and the engine was woefully inadequate compared with the teams running the Cosworth DFV Ford-powered units. The Ferrari's development also went nowhere, and the car became less competitive, if you could believe it, as the season went on, with Ferrari failing to win a race for the first time since the 1973 season. And finally, number 1, Ferrari F2005. Ferrari disappointingly head up the list again, and again it's a car defending both titles. Again, Ferrari had dominated the previous season and had their drivers finishing 1st and 2nd. Again, they almost didn't win a race, except they lucked out, winning the absolutely chaotic 2005 US Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher dragged a dog of a car, in comparison with the previous year's one anyway, to 3rd in the title behind Alonso and Kimi Classic, albeit a long way behind. Ferrari would also finish 3rd in the constructors, also a long way behind Renault and McLaren. And with that, we've once more reached the end of another video. Thank you dearly for watching. Please have a think about hitting that subscribe button and liking and commenting on the videos. We'd love to hear from you. God bless. See you soon.